Hi everyone, my name is John. Welcome to this new video for John in France. In this video, I'm going to speak about the last 4 weeks of my life here in Lille since I moved from Singapore just over a month ago. There's a lot of things that I wanted to share and I'd like to share them in this video. I hope that you'll enjoy. Let's go! So let's start on the day 1, 3rd of May. That was the day when I left Singapore. I remember when I left the hostel in Chinatown, where I lived for a month. When I took a taxi to Changi Jewel to wait for my flight there, I remember the feeling when I was in a taxi, and as it passes through the central business district of Singapore, and I was looking at all the high-rise buildings. It felt so strange that the day has finally come for me to live my life in Singapore, which I have lived for 10 years. And in the process, I have met and gained so many friends, made a lot of great relationships, met a lot of great people, a lot of great talents, and also career, right? And of course, due to the pandemic, a lot of things has changed, and ultimately it gave me the option to pursue a master in France, and that resulted exactly to where I am now. It felt so strange. It just felt so bizarre, and especially that I am moving to a new country in the middle of pandemic, and I had no clue how the experience will be in terms of travel. So when I arrived at Changi Jewel Mall, which is a shopping mall attached to Changi Airport in Singapore, I made sure that I get to see the man-made waterfalls, which Changi Jewel is known for. To me, it was pretty symbolic of how I'd like my life in Singapore to be culminated on that day, seeing this amazing architecture. Reminded me how beautiful Singapore is, and how beautiful my life was in those past 10 years, right? And the people that I've met. And at the same time, even though I was feeling a bit sad, and especially I have close friends in Singapore, it gave me comfort that at least we have social media where we can still continue to keep in touch with them, even though I'm physically away out of Singapore, but still I'm able to stay in touch and observe the happenings in Singapore from a different region, I guess, and that goes the same for them with respect to me moving to a total different region. And yeah, I waited at the lounge for a couple of hours. My flight that day was scheduled at, I think, around 10 p.m. and I was only allowed to do my check-in at 7 p.m. And even then, at 7 p.m. there was some problems with the check-in process, and we had to wait for, I think, almost an hour before we were able to check in our luggage and then proceed to the air side of the transit area of the airport, right? And yeah, I remember how it felt like when I was at the airport. Changi Airport was completely barren. It's unbelievable to see the world's best airport so empty, and it just felt so unreal. But COVID is real. So yeah, basically I was lingering around the airport, observing people. Everyone was wearing masks, and me too. There were a few shops that were open. I managed to change my money at Changi Airport. There was nothing really much to do there that night until I finally went into the boarding gate, and then the time has come when we were about to enter the plane, and that whole process was very smooth. And it's very symbolic of how I'm constantly impressed with the seamless experience you get at Changi Airport. And I took a flight with Air France, and it was a jumbo jet. And I remember when we entered the plane, I was shocked at the same time, amused. In fact, not just me, but I also saw the other passengers who were all giggling because the plane was empty, and I could not believe that we were about to fly to Europe or to Paris with an empty plane or in an empty plane. But that's how it happened. The whole flight was pretty smooth. There was no problem. And I just remember how it felt like the moment the plane took off, and when I start to see Singapore from above. A lot of things were going on in my mind. It's just I could not believe that I finally left Singapore on that day. Fast forward, we landed in Paris at 6 a.m. And of course, I was expecting that, okay, Paris must be quiet as well, and just like Singapore. But I was so surprised just how busy it was. If Changi was empty and quiet, Paris was so busy. It almost felt like there was no COVID. And if that was already not busy for Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, then I could only imagine how busy this airport is on normal days when there's no pandemic, right? So yeah, everything went smooth there. Also, I was quite impressed. They looked for my negative PCR test, and then when I arrived at the immigration counter, they obviously checked for my visa and asked what brought me to France. I told them I'm a student, and as soon as they hear that I am a student, then it was so quick. And also even tried to put my luggage into the scanner at the customs inspection. But they also asked me where I'm coming from, and as soon as I told them that I'm a student, they told me to just go. I'm like, what? Okay. Yeah. And then from Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, I took a train to Lille. I pre-booked the train back then, and so it was pretty smooth. I remember when I was walking towards the train station, or my friends warned me to be careful of the people around, because I'm no longer in Singapore, and things can happen. And yeah, I remember bumping into this Italian guy as I walked towards the train station, and he asked for help, and he showed me his bag. It was basically destroyed, his travel bag, because well, according to him, I don't know if it's really true, somebody mugged him, and somebody stole his wallet and money, and all his things while he went to the toilet. And yeah, I then proceeded down to the train station, and I remember I felt so paranoid. I was so suspicious to anyone who comes near me. I'm like, yeah, I was paying attention to everybody and their movements. In my head, I was like, I don't care if I am paranoid, but I just want to make sure that I don't lose anything before I arrive, to Lille. And yeah, so the train ride was pretty smooth also. I was so impressed, and I was very surprised just how quick it was to reach Lille. I think it was just less than an hour. And yeah, as soon as I arrived in Lille, this whole feeling of I arrived, I'm finally here, and I don't know anyone. And now, I remember when I alighted from the train car, then it felt so real that I'm already in France, and now I have to look for my apartment and things to that effect. So what I did from there was basically I booked an Uber taxi to my apartment where I am now. And I was very surprised just how smooth it was. The person who drove me was from Tunisia, and he was a little chatty, but it was good because I prefer that. It gives them it gave me the feeling that I'm being welcomed when people are warm and a bit talkative. I was able to have some conversations and some, even though the journey was very short. But yeah, as soon as I arrived in my apartment, I was I was waiting outside. I remember waiting outside the door, and it was so cold. I arrived in France, and it was still so cold. And I was waiting for my landlord to come to open the door, and of course, to check me in this apartment, right? And then my landlord came. No, I'm not sure if it was my landlord, but there were basically three women who came, and none of them spoke English. So you can only imagine just how challenging it was and amusing at the same time to have yourself check in, even though you have no idea about what they're talking about. But I could just only guess because they were reading some paper, and I think they were checking the condition of the things in this apartment. And yeah, they also asked me questions. I remember just saying oui, which is yes in French. And I just hope I didn't say anything bad, but that's how I responded until finally they laugh. I'm like, yes, I'm finally here, and I could finally chill and relax. So that was the experience that I had on that day. And to me, if I were to make a summary of that day, is that because it was so fast and easy, to travel from Singapore to Paris to Lille, it almost felt like the pandemic. It's a joke, because really, it was so easy and it was so smooth. And of course, of course the pandemic is real. It's just that that's how I felt, you know. Yeah. So then my first week in France, I had to get myself organized. I need to buy a lot of stuff because I remember when I climbed to my bedroom. My bedroom is located in the third floor, just under the roof. There was literally just bed, table, and and there's nothing. And I checked the toilet. There were no toilet paper. So emergency, I had to go look for a shopping center where I can buy my necessities. And fair enough, I found this supermarket called Leclerc. And yeah, I managed to buy a few stuff, the essentials. And I had my first interaction with the locals here. And it was a fascinating experience because I don't know what to say, right? Even though I've learned a bit of French back in Singapore. But it's one thing to learn something in the classroom, and it's another to activate what you've learned in the real world, and especially if they ask you questions that you did not predict. So yeah, but overall that day it was pretty successful, and I gave myself a tap behind on my back for having survived that. And yeah, and then the first week, basically what I did, I spent the entire time doing all the procedural things that I had to do as a student visa holder in France. So because there's a lot of things that I have to do. Say for example, I need to validate my visa to make sure I get the residence permit, which I have done in the first week. I needed to open a bank account in France, and I managed to do that with BNP Paribas and N26, because then I need to transfer my money from Singapore to here and pay my bills here, and of course the fees in the school and things to that effect. So that went quite well. And yeah, at the same time I started to observe and get myself acquainted with the area where I am living in Lille. I live in an area called Moulins. And yeah, so on the second week I was still doing all this procedural process, the remaining things. And I started to explore Lille a little bit more, not just the shopping center, but also I immediately went to the biggest park that I could find on the map, and that was the Citadel de Lille. It's basically a star-shaped park, and in the middle of it there's a military base. And yeah, this place is probably uh, my favorite place in Lille. I mean, at least one of my favorite places in Lille, because obviously it's a park, that's where I could run, and it's beautiful. It's a place where I could just sit down and relax, and that's one of the things that I really loved after I moved here, is that I gained a lot of space around me. Like, for instance, in this house, I'm the only one living as of now, and I could never have that in Singapore, because, well, you have to pay a lot to enjoy that. And then when I go to the park, there's not many people. Well, sometimes there are many people, but basically you will be able to easily find places where you can be on your own and you have all the space for yourself, right? And understandably, that's almost impossible to have in Singapore, because it's a small island, and there's also a lot of people. So if you think of going to a park, then for sure there will be many others who are there too. So, and especially that because of the pandemic, we're not people in Singapore are not able to travel, and they're all trying to go outdoors back then, to help themselves with their sanity, and their mental health, right? Because that's what I was doing when I was in Singapore. I could not stay indoors for the sake of my mind. So on the third week, I started my class at Alliance Française de Lille. Basically, it's a French language school. I've done something like that back then in Singapore, and yeah. So then I get to meet some new people who were and still are my classmates, and I remember the feeling of the I was assigned to the B1 language level, and I when I was in Singapore, I only completed the beginning of A2, right? So when it comes to European languages, and if you're learning a new language, there are 6 categories. The lowest is A1 and then A2. Both of these A levels are considered beginner level. And then you have C1, no, B1 and B2, which is the intermediate level. And people who achieve this level normally are seen as independent speakers. And then you have C1 and C2, which means you are fluent and you are really, really good at the language. And so, yeah, when I came to France, I joined this B1 class. And I remember the first week, the gap was really like a lot. And of course, the burden is on me, and I basically made an effort to make sure that I managed to catch up with the class. And the great thing is that a lot of my classmates, it is so international. There's a girl from Indonesia, there's a few from Syria, there's one from Russia, one from Japan, and then one from Brazil. I think sometimes there's more, but yeah, I like it, because we're all trying to learn French, and of course our teacher is a native speaker, native French, so that helps, and she's really funny. We like her, and yeah, everything's been smooth by far in terms of my experience at Alliance Française de Lille, and they even featured me one time on their Facebook. Because I volunteered. They basically asked me what my thoughts are of Europe, because last month, May, there was a Europe Day or something, and they asked people who are new to Lille to express their thoughts of how or what Europe means to them, and of course I volunteered. It was just so funny, because they selected when we did the photo shoot. The photo that they selected of me was the one when I was doing a jump shot. So yeah, it was pretty funny, but yeah, it's nobody knows me in Lille, so I'm all okay for that. As of now, I could say that I am enjoying my new life in France, and I haven't had any negative negative experience yet, and I hope it stays that way because I'm starting to like Lille now, and I'm starting to meet new friends and things to that effect. I also managed to catch up with my friends from other places in France, so that's good. And I'm looking forward to having myself really established here, and especially with the language, because I realized that it's really essential to learn French. It's a huge advantage when it comes to connecting with the locals. If you understand and be able to speak some French, then it really helps a huge lot. Because I figured that a lot of people speak only French, right? And yeah, even with the younger people, I actually assumed before that millennials are good at English, but that's not the case. There are obviously some people who can speak English well, but it's really not the case. So the onus is on me to improve my French, and anyway, that's what I want. So I'm doing all my best until today to to improve my French in the shortest time possible. I think it's gonna take a long time, but yeah, I can't wait to wake up on a day when I can say like, yes, I'm able to speak to a lot of people around me, in my neighborhood, and I can easily make friends to a local using French, right? So yeah, that's what I wanted to say, and yeah, I'm looking forward to share more about my life experiences here in Lille, and maybe in the next videos I'll be able to film the play my favorite places in Lille, and because I haven't really done that yet, but that's because I'm still trying to understand, the lifestyle here, and how life is done here. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button. And if you haven't done yet, please subscribe to my channel. That's a way for you to support me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing more of my experiences as an international student in Lille. And yeah, see you in the next one. Bye bye.